Okay, great. I'll just go ahead and get started. Welcome, Mike. I'm so excited to host you for this week's Decktopus podcast. It's a beautiful Monday after Thanksgiving, and we're kind of getting ready to get to work. And having said that, I would love to have you introduce yourself to our audience, what you do, and what you've been up to recently in your business.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me on. My name is Mike Hendrix, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer for a company called Rake. You can find us at Rake.ai. We are a next generation universal messaging platform. And so Rake combines team messaging and omni-channel chat in one workspace. So sometimes we say to people, it's as if Slack and Intercom had a baby. And they had Rake. So that's what we do. Super busy. We're in a stage of our company right now where we are, frequently making presentations to people. We are doing lots of development work. We're frankly even making lots of internal presentations, presentations to our own team. And we're just really busy. Small, hungry team. Really excited with what we've accomplished so far and what 2022 holds in store for us.
That sounds very exciting. And I immediately got so excited over hearing you mention the keyword presentation multiple times. So that's a great segue to my next question. How often do you use presentations on a weekly basis, and what kind of presentations do you prepare, and what kind of platforms do you use presently?
Yeah, sure. So I would say we're making three different types of presentations, if you will. We're a typical SaaS company with a free trial, a pretty good free trial, 60-day, unlimited users, free trial, no credit card, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that 60-day period then, of course, leads to selling within that 60 days. We don't really consider someone that signs up for Rake through our free trial a customer. They would be a warm lead. And if their company, and we generally assess their company through email domain and some information we collect from them in the onboarding process. But if a company looks like they are a good enterprise fit for Rake, then we're actually going to follow up with a person and our goal would be to make a full presentation as to, and again, we've learned some information about them along the way, but maybe we're making a presentation as to how we replace Slack, or maybe we're making a presentation as to how moving to conversation channels would improve their company rather than maybe using email exclusively. So depending on what we know about them, we're making one or two different presentations that way. And the form in which we do that actually it varies. We maintain some presentations on our own website, on some private hidden pages on our website. We present with Google Slides. And so we'll do that through a screen share. We typically use Google Meet and then share our slides that way. And we also will occasionally email a PDF of the Google Slides. We don't love doing that. We'd like to have some personal engagement with the person, or at least get them over to our website. But we're at the end of the day, we want to share the information, and so we'll do what we have to do to share the information. And then, in a much different way, we're also making presentations internally in terms of development. So before we jump into a sprint, we actually would share some slides with different people. And so we've got different people on our team, and we're probably, like a lot of other people, that use different slide platforms, right? So we actually do have some people in the Ukraine that use Decktopus. We have people that use, again, Google Slides, and we actually have one person that is still using Microsoft PowerPoint. So and so we actually use slides to help tell the story of what we think we should develop next. And then, as you can imagine, we go down a roadmap and make decisions from there. And then, we do a quarterly meeting internally, and we'll also use an actual presentation deck for that as well. And again, that's with Google Slides, but we find that using a deck for quarterly team meetings keeps us on track, helps us tell the story that we intended to tell, and we just frankly like having a deck alongside for that.
Definitely. And it's something that a lot of businesses have been experiencing as well, especially given that now we're not necessarily seeing a lot of the physical meetings that businesses used to have as a norm. It's now more transitioned into online spaces. And the way to get your message across for your business, the best way to do that is through decks because it has that visual engagement. It's more long lasting. So in Turkish, we have this saying, when you put words into on paper, they will stay, but if it stays as words, it's not going to stay. So that is important to storytell around your issues and your initiatives through visual aid initially, and then also through words. That is also why design has become such a huge thing, because people want to optimize the way that they storytell around their issues, but with the right kind of assistance, and that's through professional decks. So what are some grievances, let's say, you have been experiencing when you're in this world of quick turnaround deck creation that a lot of small businesses that are just scaling now are experiencing?
Yeah, so I think my biggest grievance, which might not be exactly what you're looking for, but my biggest grievance as it relates to presentation decks are and listen, I ultimately come from a sales background, so I love salespeople, but the salesperson that believes they can sit down over a cup of coffee and articulate and share everything that matters, whether it be an introductory meeting or it's meeting number 3 or it's a closing meeting, it really doesn't matter. But the salesperson that believes not having a deck along is a good decision, it frankly drives me crazy. Now, a lot of that comes from because people don't know how to use decks. But too many people think you should read every word on the slide. And that's not at all the way a deck was intended. Decks are intended to be used, and I obviously use the word deck. I know a lot of people use the word presentation, but those were intended to be used as you mentioned a minute ago, a visual aid that serves a purpose of driving home keywords, key phrases, etc. And it frankly helps the meeting move along if it's used properly. So I'll give you an example. When we present Rake, we have a slogan at Rake, and it says, "It's about the conversation, not the platform." And I'll explain that in just a minute, but it's about the conversation, not the platform. So that is a really key statement in our company. And it actually comes from a belief of conversations are critical. Okay, so you can kind of start to see this. Okay, these guys at Rake, they've got these 2 buzz phrases that they really like to use, and they work them into their sales strategy. And frankly, we work them into our development strategy. Conversations are critical, and it's about the conversation, not the platform. Well, when we use a deck, as you can imagine, we repeat those phrases. Maybe it's bottom right corner, maybe sometimes it's right in the middle of the page, but we repeat and repeat and repeat those phrases on our slides. We do not want, frankly, the salesperson to keep saying those things every slide they get to. That is not the intention. But we know that people's attention, it fades in and out. And sometimes they're listening to someone speak, and sometimes they're looking at the slide, right? Well, in the amount of times that they might look at a slide, maybe it's 6 times in a 7-minute window or something like that. The other part of the time, they might be reading their email while you're presenting to them. That just happens. It's just a reality of remote work today. But if in those 6 times they look at those slides and they keep seeing this slogan of it's about the conversation, not the platform, if our salesperson hasn't done a good job of explaining that, one, I hope that they might ask, "Hey, Joe, tell me about that. What does that mean? It's about the conversation, not the platform." Or in the top left of almost every slide we have, it says conversations are critical. Hopefully, if nothing else, when someone comes away from a Rake presentation, they know Rake believes that conversations are critical. And if Rake's doing a good job, they're probably building a platform to support what they believe in, that conversations are critical. And so my big pet peeve is that people just don't use presentations the right way. And that's why you need great sales trainers and mentors and et cetera, et cetera. And in our case, that's why we do lots of practice. We practice present at Rake, and we really think there's a science to it. Once you get it down, and once you understand how to use a deck properly, it can be really, really powerful.
I couldn't agree more. And you've definitely mentioned a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of people end up falling into as they're preparing presentations and then also giving presentations. So at Decktopus, as we started developing our platform to become the new generation of presentation creation, we've definitely kept that in mind, and we've actually installed limits on the number of characters you can input on different kinds of slides with different design layouts. And so that creates end results where the slides aren't overburdened with too much text. The same goes for the way we have created design elements that really encourage people to get to the point very quickly rather than going on different tangents, and then also creating visuals that complement what the slide content is saying rather than being super unrelated. We've actually installed different kinds of unlimited royalty-free image and GIF libraries. We've created a quote generator from famous people. We've also, even to assist people in preparing for giving the presentation in the right manner, input different kinds of presentation tip videos through a partnership with a presentation expert. So just a quick plug in there for our platform. If you want to check it out, there's a free trial right now. And also there is a Black Friday / Cyber Monday sale going on. So that's a great time to be trying out Decktopus for your presentations.
Yeah, I think what I love about the help videos that you guys do is that you're in a way saying, and hey, listen, maybe right now at your company, if you don't have a sales trainer or you're not using a third-party company to help train your salespeople, we at least can provide some help along the way to help a new salesperson understand, hey, this is really why you're using a deck or how you should use a deck. And the fact that you guys limit the amount of words that you can put on a slide, you make half of the people that have ever used PowerPoint in their life fall in love with you just by saying that, because that is a cardinal sin that so many people put too many words on the slide.
Definitely. Could not agree more with you. That brings me into my last question for you. So now we're wrapping up 2021, and then now with the new variant, COVID seems to be here to stay. So how are some ways in which your business is preparing for 2022 and just the years ahead post-COVID, or I don't want to say this, but during the coming years of COVID and the pandemic, how are there some ways in which your business is preparing for that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I'll go back to that line about it's about the conversation, not the platform. So obviously one of our biggest competitors is Slack. And Slack has a product called Slack Connect, which essentially allows one company to connect with another company via Slack. But of course, both of those companies need to be Slack customers. And that just isn't really what we believe in. Because you've now said you're valuing the platform over the conversation, right? The fact that you're forcing the users to use Slack, you now value the platform before the conversation, and I don't think it's debatable. The way Rake comes at it is we say, listen, we think that Decktopus should use Rake, and that's great. But we think you also want to interact with other companies, maybe other freelancers, advisors, et cetera. And you should not say to those people, they have to use Rake as well. And so what we've done is we've built what's called a universal channel, where you get to invite people into your Rake channels but they would use SMS, or they use WhatsApp, or they, and on, right? All the integrations that we have. And those people get all the benefits of a conversation channel. So, that typical back and forth, sharing files, here's a link, all of the benefits of a conversation channel. We just don't think you should make them use Rake. That's not to say I don't want them to use Rake. Of course I do. But that would not be genuine to what we believe in. We believe in the conversation before the platform. And so if that means that this one advisor you have that's really important to you just prefers to use WhatsApp, well, then she should be able to use WhatsApp and participate in your conversation channel. And so the reason I bring that up, related to your question, is we just think this is going to become more and more important as we continue to work from home, as we continue to work not in this, face-to-face kind of a world. We think conversation tools need to become as nimble as having a real conversation at the coffee machine. And if you were at the coffee machine with someone, you would not say to them, hey, before I talk to you, can you tell me, are you using an Android or an iPhone? You would not do that. You would just have the conversation. And so if you value the conversation over the platform, we think Rake is the fit. And we think using universal channels and other universal conversation tools that we're building is the answer for people that believe in that.
Definitely. And hopefully going forward, we also continue to be parts of conversations that matter. And this was a conversation that definitely mattered to me. So it was a great way to start my week as well. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining me today for Decktopus podcast. We're looking forward to getting connected with Rake.ai more and more going forward. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. And same to you. Have a great week and happy holidays moving forward.